Now, my journey started many, many, many years ago. And it started as a child. I grew up in the beautiful island of Barbados. I was raised by my grandparents. And I lived in a home which was very protected. My grandparents were very overly protected at times. I was raised in a Christian home. I was raised with love and affection, even though it wasn't a lot of, cuddly this and cuddly that, because that's not the era my grandparents were raised on, to really show that kind of affection to a child or a grandchild. I lived with my grandparents from the age of 5 months old, where my mom had taken me over to live with my grandparents. And I'm going to get into that story on a different podcast for the reason why. But I lived in a family where I lacked nothing. There I lacked there was no lack in food, shelter, clothing, whatever I needed, whatever I wanted was provided for. I lived in a home and an environment which was very nurturing to me, and it is because of that environment, because of the family, because of my grandparents, and people along the way, which I'll share on my journey of who I am today. And, sometimes we question why certain things happen. Why did my mom give me up to my grandparents? Why? And that was a question that I had for many years as a child growing up. But as an adult, I understand why she did what she did. And it was for my best interests. And I am so grateful to her because the life I have today, the woman that I have become, I don't think maybe for most of the part I would have become the woman that I am today. A woman who is grounded spiritually, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, in every way, was in part to do with my grandparents and how they raised me with such roots, with the relationship with God that I continue to have over the years as I grew up, and who I am. And, while being a child there, I remember the kids in the neighborhood coming over to visit me every evening after school. And I was like their teacher, their mentor. They look forward to coming over and visiting with me every day after school. And a lot of kids in the neighborhood weren't as as fortunate as I was. A lot of them struggled in poverty. A lot of them had broken homes and had a lot of issues that they had to deal with every day. So when they would come over to my house, it was like an escape for them. And I loved, when they came over, because it was also my escape. I couldn't really go to anyone's house. I was not allowed. And so when they came over, it was joyful to me. And it was my opportunity to show them love and compassion, and my opportunity to actually help them, because a lot of them struggled in school, and I was able to help them with their homework. And that's what I did. I was a teacher from the early ages, and that hasn't changed. I'm still a teacher today, a transformational teacher for my audience, for my clients, and that has not changed. And I am a true believer that who you are is ingrained from the time you were a child, and it's a known fact, from the ages between 1 and 7 or even 8. Your grounding, your foundation of who you are planted in those early years as a child. So they would come over and we would play, and then I would host these pageants, and we would get dressed up. I would get dressed up in my grandmother's clothing and shoes and makeup, and they would do the same, or sometimes I would give them the clothing and the shoes and the makeup and the jewelry to get all dressed up. And it was their time to shine. And I created these little events, little platform for them to shine, for them to escape into a dream-like life that they envisioned but never had the opportunity, or no one ever actually encouraged them to to live a life beyond what they knew, a life of struggle, a life of poverty, and a life of hardship. So when they were with me, when they came to my house, they were able to escape. And these pageants were held at the front of my house. So we had like these high steps. So this was like the stage. Now imagine, a beauty contest or one of those pageant shows. This was like a pageant show. Now, I had actually, at that time, I don't recall having seen a pageant maybe on TV. I don't think it was on TV. But I know my grandmother used to go to actually the live shows, these kind of shows. But we used to host these shows and imagine going up the step and we were modeling and putting on, really having the time of my life. And that was the first platform that I created for my friends, the children in the neighborhood. And that birthed something in me, something that I have not forgotten, something that along my journey as an adult, as someone working in corporate and then becoming into entrepreneurship full-time, that did not leave me. As a matter of fact, the first business that I launched was a platform and a community-like events-driven business for women, a place where they could come away. It was built on self-love and self-care, and that dream, that seed that was planted when I was a child, did not leave, has not left, and is still a very important part of my life and my business. So my journey began when I was a child, when I was yay high. And I invite you right now to think about your own journey. Where did your journey start, and where do you see your journey prevalent today, even as a child? Like, what are some of the things that have stood out? What are some of the things that is still with you, like that burning desire within deep in your soul that you cannot shake as an adult? So as a child, that really stuck with me. And then I had this burning passion to, interview other women, other entrepreneurs. And that started with my first show called the Lux Moments Show, where I would go to different places where these entrepreneurs resided, whether it was their business or home, and I would interview them about their journey as a woman, running their own business, building wealth, leveraging their brilliance. And so that was my first show, and that was a video show. And that, if you go back and go through the archives on YouTube, you'll probably find one or two episodes still kicking around where I interview other women entrepreneurs about their journey. So that was February of 2013 was when I launched that show, the Lux Moments Show. And then I really love video. I'm really a natural when it comes to video. But lo and behold, there were some sort of ups and downs along the way with filming that show with video. My videographer actually lost a lot of the content. His computer crashed and a lot of the video was lost. And it really struck me to okay, so how can I evolve this now? And I'm going to share the lessons of my journey. But how can I evolve this? I really love video, but it seemed to be a little bit of resistance in terms of things coming together to really take the show to the next level. And then in June of 2013, I evolved the show into the Kharisma Arrow radio show on Blog Talk Radio. I don't know if you know about Blog Talk Radio. I don't even know if they're still around. But Blog Talk Radio was a platform where you will host a show, you will dial into your show, you will host your show live on a particular day, you will bring guests on, interview those guests, and these episodes were hosted on the Blog Talk Radio platform. And this was back in June 2013. And I had an amazing time interviewing different women and men on their journey. And the evolution of my show continued. into January 2015, where it was rebranded as the Kharisma Lifestyle Entrepreneur Show. And I continue to interview other entrepreneurs, women and men, about their journey and the evolution of business and the impact that they were having in the world. Then May 2018, I rebranded the show into the Kharisma Show, and this time it was audio. So the last 3 shows, it was audio only. But my heart and my soul have been all about having the audio as well as video. And today marks the rebirth and rebrand of the Kharisma Show and the Kharisma Podcast, which is video and audio. So I am excited for where this show, this rebrand, this relaunch of the show is going to take me and to take you on this journey. So here are some lessons I've learned along the way. One is never give up on your dreams. Never, never, never give up on your dreams, no matter what. Your dreams have been planted inside of you for a reason. They're meant to germinate and come into fruition and grow like an oak tree. Never give up on your dreams, no matter what. Even if you have to put things on pause, take a break. Just never give up on them. Just come back. Reinvent yourself. Pivot if you have to. Number 2, always follow your God-given intuition. Now, God has given us this intuition for a reason. It's always there. Always listen. Always tune in to your intuition. It will never steer you wrong. And number 3, every setback is an opportunity to reinvent yourself and pivot as you go. Now, along my journey, as this show has evolved along the years, it's almost 9 years now, actually, that this show, I launched the first show, and it's pivoted and reinvented and rebranded along the way. Now, along the way, I had many setbacks with my, the first video show where the videographer, his computer crashed and the videos were gone, poof, like in thin air. When I did my Kharisma Lifestyle show, I also experienced some technical difficulties with my computer crashing. And then when I was actually recording those shows, at the time, there was no Zoom around. I had to use Skype and then an add-on called the Pamela software, which will allow me to record the audio in a separate file. And using Skype at the time was very choppy. Like there would be a lot of static at times, and sometimes the quality was compromised. So, like I said, even though I experienced those things, every setback is an opportunity to reinvent yourself and to pivot as you go. So I have pivoted along the way. I have rebranded, as I've mentioned, and it's just an opportunity to take it to the next level, to rebrand and to reinvent yourself. And it's not to say that because you reinvented yourself, one day you're going to stop reinventing. It's a journey. It's a process. And you're going to reinvent as you go. Like what I'm doing right now. I'm reinventing my business, reinventing myself, how I show up in the world, who I am, what I do in the world. But one thing never changes is my purpose, my commitment to my divine purpose here on earth. And that is twofold. The first is to actually empower women like yourself to leverage your brilliance into building wealth so that you can scale your income, your impact, and your influence while connected to your purpose. And secondly, is to be a voice for the voiceless. If you know me and know anything about me, I am passionate about animals. And I'm going to share about my own journey with my fur baby and how that became to be and where it's leading me on the path of my delicious, divine second fold of my purpose. And I'm going to share more of that on the show as we continue. But that is the second part of my purpose. It's to be a voice for the voiceless and to change the laws of the land so that they are deemed as sentient beings, so that the laws will protect them from owners and people who abuse them, neglect, and abandon them. And I'm going to share, and I'm excited to share more of that journey with you here on the show. And the fourth lesson I've learned is to always have a backup plan, like backup storage, or always have a plan in place, especially when you're doing content on using technology. Always have a backup plan, backup storage, etc., etc. Number 5 is to work with professionals who know that if they're filming a show for a client, that they need to have a backup plan, and also one who's going to actually help elevate your craft and your work as you journey along the way and as you show up boldly. Number 6 is to leverage your brilliance, like I'm passionate about in teaching you. Leverage your brilliance into building wealth. Leverage your brilliance into fulfilling your purpose here on earth, and leverage your brilliance into showing up boldly, courageously, without any apologies, and be unapologetic for the woman that you are and the woman that you're becoming. And also leverage your content. Leveraging your content. So if you're creating content on one platform, think about ways how you can leverage that content on other platforms, other social media platforms, to reach your ideal audience and to reach your ideal clients and customers, as well as your connections. Now, for me, I've built connections along the way through the interviews I've done, through the women and the men that I've interviewed. Now, those are connections that cannot be undone. And those are connections that I have leveraged with my magazine and beyond. So I encourage you to think about the connections that you have in your life and in your business, and how you can leverage them to take your life and business to the next level. And number 7, always align to your divine purpose every day. My purpose is what drives me every day in everything that I do, and it's always first and furthermore in front of me every day when I wake up. Always align to your divine purpose. Have clarity on what that is. And if you don't know what your purpose is, it's time to get the clarity to know and to understand what your purpose is, how you can align to it, and then how you can leverage your brilliance in aligning to it every single day.